All right, so we are live. Get this recorder up and going. Sorry, having some real quick technical difficulties real here.
All good, man.
We are rolling in a really good direction right now.
Hey, happens. We're used to it on our end, especially.
All right, welcome back to another season of Talking Tines, Outdoorsobsessions. Only here. We are live on Facebook. And today we have guest host with us, Curt Geier from Working Class Bowhunter Podcast. Curt, go ahead, give him a big old hello. And anybody that's out there listening, understand you guys are more than welcome. This is fully interactive. Ask any kind of questions away as we're on topic to topic and whatnot, and we'll do our best to go ahead and answer those back and forth.
Cool. Thanks for having me, man. Should be a good time. I got a cold beer cracked, so I'm ready to talk some tines, man.
Oh, hell yeah, dude. So, Curt, man, let's just start off with, let's go off with your season, because if we went off mine, it is going to be 0. I unfortunately took out tack soup. I did shoot a buck, but I got him in no man's land, and we have video and pictures of the deer today is still living. So, Curt, why don't you go ahead and tell us about your season, man, starting with the best hunt and just going.
I'll just go in order because it's just easy that way. Easier, I guess. I did a Wyoming mule deer hunt, backcountry, high country mule deer hunt in September, and I was fortunate enough to kill my first archery mule deer. That was an amazing hunt with my buddy Devin Leonard and one of my best friends, Clint Casper. Clint produces co-produced hunt files, and he's a full-time writer for Peterson's Bowhunting magazine. So we're going to do a write-up on that and shot that buck pretty much. I shot it the day before my dad's birthday, and then we packed it out on the way. It kind of bled over into my dad's birthday, who just passed in April. So it was like this super special memorial type hunt for my dad, and with some of my best friends out there. And so that hunt was extra special because of like the circumstance and kind of the sentimental meaning behind what we were doing out there. So that was early September. Drove home. Just like straight through 20 hours, just on a high from that hunt. And it beat the hell out of me, of course, which, you take a flatland Midwestern guy and put him in that type of terrain, you kind of get woke up real fast. I killed 2 good bucks in Illinois, one in mid-late October. And then I killed my second buck with a bow in December. And so that was hard to complain there. Both good ethical shots, no headache. And then I went actually over Christmas break. My buddy Devin and I went and met up with our buddy Trey Heiner out in Wyoming. He runs an outfit out there, Washakie Outfitters and Double Diamond Outfitters. And we were out there for kind of a family vacation over Christmas break. And my buddy's like, man, if you, because I already had all my Wyoming stuff bought from hunting. We bear hunted in the spring and then did that mule deer hunt. So I already had like a lot of my stuff bought. So I just went and bought a mountain lion tag over the counter. Got lucky and ended up getting one, and then just spent the rest of the trip snow tubing and riding snowmobiles and all that with the family and having a good time. But so,
dude, that was legit, man.
Yeah, so it was cool. A lot of adventure.
I don't know if you guys seen that cat, but he's got it on his webpage. He's got it on his Facebook. This cat, Curt's literally got to pick it up like this, man. I swear to God, that cat's taller than Curt. Not that we're exactly the tallest people, but man, that was one big kitty.
Yeah, it was shocking too. And my buddy is like, I consider him to be an expert on anything Western. He's just like a real cowboy, and he's like, it's a good cat. So to him, it wasn't a monster. So that scares me a little bit, knowing like what kind of, like what size Big Tom type mountain lions could be out there. Which I'm good. I'm not a guy that needs to I don't need to shoot 5 mountain lions. Like I'm good with one. I'm good with a couple bears. Like I've killed one bear. I don't need to like stack them up. I'm cool with that. Antlers are different. I want to shoot a lot of bucks and have that experience, get a big elk, stuff like that. But mountain lions and bears kind of fall in that same fun adventure novelty type category for me, to where I don't have to kill a bunch. So I scratched that itch.
That's awesome, dude. Now
yeah, man, I'm working class bow hunter.
Dude, that's some legit shit right there, bro. That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, we had a firearm with us just in case something crazy happened, but and it was kind of one of those things. It wasn't like you got your gun And Trey was like, yep, got the pistol. It was like, oh, hey, I should probably bring this, huh? When we were like going up to where it was treated. I'm like, yeah, that's a good idea. I didn't even think of it until he said something. I'm like, nah, okay. Oh, yeah, you better bring that. Because I could have wounded the thing. And then my biggest fear is that it was going to get one of my buddy's dogs.
Right.
And it didn't, we were set up for that. But after we got the lion down, we still got to do the podcast on it where we'll get into all the details.
Sure.
But after it all went down, he's like, I guess I probably should have went over some of that with you first before we got into this. Because he didn't like, I'm going to hold the dogs until we know the lion's done. Then I'll let the dogs go.
Right.
So the whole time, like, it's chaotic. It's the most chaotic thing I've ever experienced because your brain's trying to like process it, see where you hit the cat. The cat's like going crazy in the tree. There's people over, there's dogs barking, and your brain just can't catch up with the situation. So,
right.
If I'm his buddy. Like if I was a client, he would have went over all that with me. But it's like we're just out there, buddies, having a good time. So he probably just thought it's the best, right? We'll go for it. So
he's killed a thing or two. Yeah. If you wanted that cat, would have eaten Devin.
So Judd has met Devin and knows Devin pretty well. And what's funny about that is, so I have two angles of that lion hunt on video. One of them is my buddy Devin is underneath it, videoing the cat looking down at him. And my buddy Trey that was with us, he's a cowboy, like no fear type cowboy, the real deal. And Devin's like, hey, should I film this from right here? And he's like, yeah, just stay right there. You're good. And then in the video, you hear Devin go, well, what if it jumps on me? And Trey goes, we'll just let the dogs go. So we have two angles. We have that angle of him underneath it, and it almost falls on him. And then we have another angle of, like, from my point of view, one of our other buddies was standing like 3 foot to my right. So he actually gets like the up in the tree angle, and Devin is like looking up at it. So it's pretty cool. When we put the video together, I think it'll show it pretty clear what's going on. So, dude,
that's freaking awesome. I can't wait for that. I definitely want to see that. I mean, I get it. Like with, especially with the dogs going nuts, it's extremely chaotic for something like that. And especially knowing like that thing can end you.
Yeah. I wasn't really like worried about that because we had the dogs and like, I don't know. I think it's my buddy is just so Western and such a cowboy that it kind of put me at ease a little bit. Like he's been in some crazy situations before. He's killed, I don't know how many lions in his day. I think he's batting 100%. And so I had a bunch of people wanting to book hunts out there after seeing, mine, and I'll put more info out on that. But it's weird when you normally in a tree stand, you're shooting down.
Yeah.
So you're aiming for your exit hole, right?
Yes.
So imagine flip-flopping that completely. The cat's in the tree, you're on the ground, you're aiming for the opposite exit hole than you normally would on a deer. So it's just weird because normally you're used to leaning down at your waist. Yeah. This one, you're still leaning at your waist, but you're leaning up. Yeah. And so to practice for it, I hoisted a block target up in a tree and just kind of practice that way to kind of have an idea what the hell I was doing. So I didn't want to be that guy to like wound the cat and then have it just become a big problem. So
right. And honestly, if you remember right, just kind of reflecting, not taking anything from that, but reflecting on my season this year, I seen that target in the tree and I instantly thought, man, I wish I would have done that, because the exact reason why I got my buck in no man's land was the exact same thing. It was drawn up, looking up. I was on my knees and it was like 8 to 10 foot different elevation. It was at the base of this tree, and I called him in. It was super windy. It was during the rut. Called him in twice. And I heard him coming back through the leaves again. He hopped the fence and I drew back, not even thinking about the entrance hole. I was thinking purely on exit. And like this, if you're facing down. So that's a hell of a shot, man. It's not no simple like video game where you get to just pull back, put it on that center mass and go. No, right. I followed that deer for 700 some yards before we were down to our hands and knees on drips and whatnot. And 8 hours later, man, he come rutting on by my buddy 2,000 yards away, and I'm like, man, you gotta be kidding me.
There's zombies that time of year.
But dude, I mean, the fact that you shot this cat in a tree with the bow, and made it happen, you found the right idea to practice. That's primo. And
well, I didn't want to be that guy to like, oh yeah, I had the time to practice, but I just didn't. Right. Like I didn't want to be that guy and have like something. Just I don't know. You just never know. It's different. Like you shoot a deer, it runs off. You don't always know that like a predator like this, not that like the cats like are known for jumping out of trees and like killing people like that. You almost never hear about that happening. But I didn't want like a dog to get hurt. That's the more the concern, because the dogs are the first thing on a wounded cat like this. So not only that, it's like when it gets treed, when you first start looking at it, you're like, okay, where's my shot? And I'm looking at one spot. I'm like, I think I can put an arrow through there. My buddy's like, hey, I think this is probably your shot. And then you look in there and it's like, volleyball size hole. And you're like, shit. Like, hopefully I can make it in there. Right. The angle makes it weird. So it's nerve wracking. You're just like, I hope this doesn't go sideways. And you just don't want to wound an animal anyway. Yeah. And you don't want to wound one that can hurt you or a dog or somebody, so especially Devin, it would have landed on him. The video is crazy. Like, people that might be hearing this might think I'm full of shit by saying that, but it almost landed on.
Wow, dude, that's awesome. I can't wait to see this. I truly can't. I went down for a pig hunt down in April down in Oklahoma, man, and I used an 8-inch Bowie knife to take them out. We used the dogs, used the bay dogs. So we had 3 dogs, where you probably had somewhere between 4 and a dozen dogs, but
we had 2.
You had 2. Mm-hmm. See, there's no tree and a pig. You're running out in the middle of a wheat field or somewhere, and you don't know the terrain, and you're on a dead sprint with a knife on your hip, and you're like, man, I hope I don't fall in a hole and twist my ankle, and I was eye level with this pig. Yeah, you don't want that. You don't want to get cut up by some cutters on a pig, and that'd be a little more embarrassing. But dude, I don't know if you've done that. I don't know if you've ran through a wheat field at 3 a.m. and stabbed a pig with an 8-inch Bowie knife, but I'm gonna tell you, that is a rush, and you gotta do it. I
would do it. I think it's just not really high on my radar right now. Like I will do it, I'm sure. I don't know, with the Bowie knife, like, that's cool. I know that's a certain style of doing it, but it's, I don't know. Horns and antlers are more my interest, and like pigs would be like, okay, I got a free weekend, let's go. If it worked out, I'd definitely do it. But I don't know. Yeah, that's cool. It'd be awesome to do that. It's kind of like noodling for catfish. Yeah, it's cool. I'm not like booking a trip to go do that. But if I was in a spot doing something else and someone was like, hey, try this, I'd be like, I don't really want to, but I'd like to mark it off the bucket list just to say I tried it. Then I would do it. But
I took a bow with me. I took a 243 lever action with me. And the knife was just a bonus. And I seen a buddy of mine, like, I watched him do it, and the guy looked at me, he goes, all right, you're up. What do you want to do? And I'm like, that. Mm-hmm. Like, it was an instant, like, that. Yeah. I didn't think I would want to. I'm like, I'd rather shoot one from a tree or from a blind, put them on. No, that was cool, man. Yeah. But, so when it come down to your cat, like, are you guys specifically targeting toms, or was any cat on the menu? How did that all work?
Well, legitimately, what I told Trey, I said, I will shoot any lion unless you're like, maybe let's not shoot this one. You know what I mean? Like, he's the guide. He knows what's best. He lives out there. He's seen. It was the only mountain lion I'd ever seen.
So really?
I've never seen one before that. I mean, I'd never been after him. How many have you seen in the wild naturally?
Absolutely zero.
Yeah. So when I get out there, I'm like, oh, that's a mountain lion. Holy shit,
We're here.
Yeah. So I'm like, is it a good one? He's like, yeah, it's a good cat. So let's shoot it. So I'm like, all right, let's do it. If you would have been like, we did get on one track it was a female that had cubs or kittens or whatever you want to call it.
Sure.
So we can't pursue that, obviously. But yeah, I told him, I was like, it's different for me. Kind of went like talked earlier. It's like with a bear and in a mountain lion. I don't want to shoot a cub. Of course, I want to shoot the best, most mature, respectable bear that I could. And I was the same way with the lion. It's like, it's not, to me, it's just not like a 120-inch buck versus a 160-inch buck.
Right.
To me, I can't tell that with like a bear. Bears are really hard to judge. Same way with the cat. I'm looking at its head. I'm like, it looks good to me. Cool.
Right.
Let's do it.
It definitely looks like it could mess me up. I think I want that one.
Yeah. Now, if I were to go again, I might be like, I want to hold out for like a really big tom now.
Right.
But it's not on my radar right now. It could happen one day. I'm sure in the future I'll go again. But it'll probably be me going with buddies for lions from now on, rather than like me being the hunter up front, you know?
Right. Absolutely. Sorry about
So,
that. Not like we're recording or anything.
right.
So Paul says Devin would have stabbed it in midair on its way down. Dude,
Probably.
this dude sounds like a beast. I'm gonna have to meet this guy.
Devin is a character, man. He's a good guy. I always say, and I think he probably hates that I say this, he's probably one of the most like, man, I don't know how true this is. I think it's true from my perspective. Notorious big mule deer killers in Utah.
Wow. Well,
So,
I mean, that's a lot of open play, man. You really got to step up your game in order to get a big muley out there. I'm sure any guy out there could probably help you get, and do a decent muley, but
yeah, he killed. I mean, he's probably like my number one. If someone's going to kill a big muley, I think Devin would probably be my number one draw. He killed straight a buck that anybody could go after this year. I think he killed like a 236-inch muley in Utah. Like,
damn.
And it was one of them deer that, it's a spot anyone could go hunt. I believe it was just a general deer tag, so anybody could go out and hunt this deer. And he was able to kill that buck. So he's got a pile of deer over 200 big muleys. So, and I think he's got 2 in the 230s, 1 in the, I can't even keep track of them all. He's a wild animal, that's for sure.
Right. Speaking of muleys, did you end up scoring yours?
Yeah, he's right about 160.
Nice. Dude, that thing is freaking awesome.
Yeah, it's exactly what I wanted to, I wanted, that's funny, Mark Rush message.
I can't kill Curt Geier, only bear can.
I think both would kill me pretty easy. But I don't remember what I was saying about my buck when I measured it. It's exactly what I wanted, man. For my first mule deer with a bow, I wanted a buck that was a great representation of what a mule deer is.
Right.
So in my head, I was like, man, a 150 muley or better, I will go home a happy hunter. So it worked out great.
Right. I think I can pull up the
I'm all by myself now, it seems like.
All right, I totally messed up there.
All good.
I should have opened up the new tab. I think I could pull up your muley deer here, so let's go ahead and take a look, see if I can't do that so the people that haven't seen it yet can see it. Can you guys still see me on camera?
You're there,
All
as
right,
far as I can see.
Bet. Let's see. Yeah, that thing was awesome. Here we go. So it's downloading. I don't think it's going to let me post it, boys.
It's all good.
All right. By the way, it's going to be the cover art of the thumbnail and then everything else that's going on. But it absolute stud. So moving forward to your whitetails that you got. I mean, these were no small deer. Both of them were very respectful deer. Why don't you tell us about how all that went down?
So the one buck I called Battle Axe. The other one was just kind of a quick story. I can just tell that fast. And honestly, went to a spot that I liked, that I felt like would have good opportunity. I actually shot him during second firearm season. So I drew firearm season for that county so I can wear blaze orange and use, if I have an active or valid unused firearm tag or either sex tag, I can use it. I can hunt with a bow and just tag it with that tag. So that's what happened there. Went to a spot that I liked, worked out great, killed the buck. Quickest hunt of my life, killed him in like 3 minutes. It just was kind of one of those crazy catch me off guard and the excitement in the moment. Double lunged him, watched him fall. And I literally I drove longer to my spot than I hunted, and the longer that took me to hunt, kill it and load it out. So that's that story, to spare all the boring details. My first buck was a buck I called Battle Axe. Part of his ear was like, it looked like someone had just chopped it off, and just a big old mature buck, man. He's I know for a fact he's 6.5 I had the good people at Old Barn bet that he was 7.5.
Oh, wow.
But I know factually that he's 6.5, at least from what I know from like trail cam history. And then it just worked out. You know, I hunted a good front there that we had in late October. It was the 21st. The 20th or 21st. And had him come in through a plot that I designed and kind of tried to make my own little pinch point down there and caught him right in there, like 20 yards and perfect shot, and ran 20, 30 yards and piled up, and the celebration was on.
That's beast, man.
Yeah, it was cool. He's a nice buck. He's got a actually here, I can show you. I got him right here. If you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Show away, my man.
He's
dude, stud.
What he's cool. He's one of them deer. He's not real photogenic. So it was hard to tell. I had a bunch of people call me bullshit when I said the score, but I mean, he's a big frame. He's got good 3s, good 4s, but he's got a bunch of crazy stuff here on the base. But yeah, just a good buck, good frame buck, dark rack. There we go. So just pretty thrilled with him.
That's freaking stud, dude. I like how, you know, I'm probably going to get this wrong due to mirror imaging or whatever, but I like how the left-hand side or the right-hand side's got all that junk coming up in the brow area there.
Yeah.
Dude, that's wicked. And all the different kinds of burrs that are up there by your thumb, and then he just goes out to a real nice, smooth main beam.
Yeah, this is so what's cool about him, he has that point that comes straight off the back.
Oh.
And then, so I saw this point on top, and when I thought it was just like just a burr.
Sure.
Well, it's actually the way it measures, it wraps around and comes underneath. So it's actually like a 3-inch. It's like 3 2/8 inch of like a little extra point. So it's kind of cool. Nice. But it's so tight. I mean, I wish I could show you here. Maybe you can see the.
I'll give you the main screen here, buddy.
Okay, I'll try to get it lined up. The gap between where the point is and the skull plate, you know, there's just a few 1/8 of an inch between his actual skull and how the antler grew. So
that's legit. Yeah, you could barely see it right on through there. That's freaking awesome.
Yeah, so that had to have hurt like hell. I know it did. He had to have felt that pressure there, and so I didn't even know that it was an extra point until we capped him out, and I'm like, oh shit, there's a little more there. So, I mean, real unique character. I'd hate to be Old Barn when they go to mount him and slide that hide back over, but
yeah, no kidding.
They'll figure it out. That's the one thing. Like once they put the hide back on that mount, like that point, it goes away. Like no one will be able to see that point. So I'll just have to take some good photos of it and be like, I'm not bullshitting you. Look, there's another point there. So.
Yeah, it's right there. Feel it. Feel it.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they can figure something out for it, but I don't know how. They'll figure it out. They're the best in the biz, so we'll see what happens.
Right. We've got one of our own here, Andrew Fulmer. He's chiming in. Says, when I was younger, I always said time for cougar hunting. Nice. Got to. That's my man. Always, got buddy.
To. Hey, don't kill you, too. All cougars are dangerous.
Absolutely are. We got Jared McMullen, White Tooth Zero.
Yep, whatever that is.
Then Andrew comes in with a unique rack for a unique hunt. Absolutely.
Yeah, thanks, Andrew.
So, deer number 2, or buck number 2, what happened there, man? Give us the story.
That was that quick story I told you. I just killed him during firearm season, and it was just kind of like popped up in. Here he comes. I think he heard me walk in. Literally, I just had grabbed my bow. I was wearing, I don't have the hat here. So this was funny about the hunt. I had a hat on. I'm going to clarify this before I start dropping what you think is cuss words. I had a pheasant hunting hat on from some of our friends that live in Kansas, and it had a pheasant flying, and underneath it says Big Cock Country. So I'm like, okay, that's pretty funny. Yeah. I don't ever have to wear blaze orange because I never firearm hunt. Right. So I'm like, I got a free weekend. This is my last full weekend before like ATA starts and all this stuff. So it was my last full weekend to hunt. I'm like scouring for my blaze orange hat and blaze orange vest. I find my the shitty vinyl type vest you get for like $150 that are in like the little package.
Yeah, they're like this big in a package. You wonder how they get them in there.
Yeah, that's what I have. I don't have any good blazer ones. I should invest, but I don't have any. So I like whip that thing out. And then the only hat I find is that big cock country hat. So I'm like, all right, we're rocking this. So I get out into the stand. I take the hat off. I get in, like, get my bow up, get everything settled, take my hat off. I take a picture of it, send a Snapchat to our like little group chat we got for the podcast, put my hat back on. I hear, brr, look over, there's the buck, put my phone in my pocket, grab my bow, double lung this thing at like 12 yards, watch him fall. And then I send another Snapchat. Like, I checked the send times, 3 minutes. 3 minutes from sending that first one, put it in my pocket, shooting it, the deer falling, and then sending my follow-up snap. So, quickest hunt I've ever been on. It was just kind of funny. That's
amazing. You know, a really good buddy of mine, man, he'll tell you right then and there, the best deer call you have is your phone. When you're on there just playing games, everything's happening. You've probably missed sights of deer that you would love to kill because you're down there dabbling on your phone.
Yeah, I try not to.
Yeah, I try not to just because normally where I hunt, my phone's constantly looking for service or whatever, so it's killing itself. So I'm trying my best to keep as much battery as possible.
Yeah, well, it's one of those deals. I wouldn't have been on my phone, but like it was dry out that day. I just crunched through the leaves, got in there. Like, I'd been in there a couple minutes. I genuinely think that deer heard me walk in, thought I was another deer or like a doe or something or some commotion, and that's why he came in. I mean, he came in grunting, so I would assume that's what was going on in his head, and then it just worked out. It just happened I had that stupid hat on when I shot him, which makes it worse for him, but it was
it's a good thing that you already had an arrow knocked before you decided to do all that, because had you not,
step one, man,
you would have been sitting there like, oh, dude, there's been many times just this year alone where I caught myself sending a snap to the guys or doing whatever, and they look over, oh shit, I don't even have an arrow knocked. I better get that done.
Dude, step one, pull your bow up, pull the arrow. I'm always like, pick what arrow, give it a kiss, throw it on my bow, goes on the hook, release, always on, first thing. Because
dude, I drive with it on.
That's prepared.
I will never. There was one time. Oh god, this was like 4 or 5 years ago, dude. I left my arrows at home, and it was a 30-minute drive to the actual spot to the land that I had on, and I no more than pulled off the interstate and just went, oh, looked in the back. I'm like, I can't believe it, because there's no room for my bow quiver in the case.
Yeah,
and. It's 3 a.m. You're trying to hurry up and get out of the house, make sure you're doing everything right. Slip into the gas station real quick, grab a monster and a piece of pizza and go.
Yeah.
And I was like, you got to be kidding me. And up to this point, I had yet to shoot a deer at all. So, I mean, no, it could have been 4 or 5 years ago. Either way, I have yet to shoot a deer at this point. So I open up my case and I have like 3 shitty arrows. And they don't even match. And I'm like, nope.
Yeah,
so I flew back home. Yep, flew back home, got my quiver, which is right by the front door, mind you. Fly all the way back out there, and I'm in the middle, and I got this golden rule: never walk through an open field on the way to the stand or on the way out unless you're dragging a deer. Always walk the edge. Well, if I would have walked the edge, I would have added another 20, 25 minutes to my walk or to my time. And I was like, I'm walking right across this thing, and I'm right on the top of the hill, and I have this big doe, huge doe, coming right up to my stand. She's 50 yards away, and she's working her way on that favorite trail, and she spots me from like 200 yards away. Gone. And I even avoided getting a ticket that day because I was speeding, and I managed to stay behind the cop the entire time. But no,
how to do it?
Oh god, I was doing like 120.
Yeah, I always keep my release on me, so like a zip pocket on my leg, or like if it's dark, I always have it there. But yeah, walking in the afternoon for an afternoon hunt, I always try to at least have it on me, if not on. So you just never know, anything can happen.
Here's a good one. So Andrew and I, we went down to the southern Iowa property that I get to hunt a lot. I took him down there this year, and sure enough, he says, Joe wouldn't let me get out of the truck last weekend of archery without my release on my wrist. Absolutely would not. Like, you kind of said it. You kiss your arrow when you're in your stand.
Mm-hmm.
I got my own little things, but if that release ain't on, dude, we ain't even hunting.
Yeah, I mean, what's the point?
Number one, watching. Yeah, we're not going nowhere until that's on there. I'll put it on the tree. I don't care. You can put it on in the walk. I'm not going.
Yeah.
Put it on. Yep. So, I mean, I know I got to use a different arrow every time I go hunting too. Like that arrow, for some reason, had some bad juju, and I'll use a different one. I'll just go right down the line. I think that's why I carry 6. A lot of people carry 4. Dude, I got to carry 6, man.
I think I carry 6, 5 or 6, and we actually talked about this on our podcast. It's I use the same arrow until I feel like it's used its opportunity. Then I go to the next one. Yep. But this year I wrote. My dad passed away, so I wrote my dad's name on my fletching, and then my buddy Trey, his son, passed away a couple years ago. So I alternate the fletching and write their names on it. And the muley I shot it with, I called my Papa Dave arrow, and that muley just shattered that arrow on the mountain because he rolled down a mountain, and that's how he like screwed up his velvet. But then I made another one, and then I shot both bucks, and the second buck broke that arrow with his offside shoulder. So I shot a doe and 2 bucks with the same arrow. Nice.
Hell yeah, dude. Yeah. Andrew says he's always got a spare in the war bag, but nothing beats the one you practice with. Absolutely not.
Yeah, the one that flies good.
Yep. So, I mean, condolences, for you and your dad's loss, man.
Thanks.
That touched home. I never got the honor to meet Papa Dave, but man, I sure would have loved to. And one of the moments that stick out most in my mind is you had recently shared a post where you couldn't have been any older than maybe 15 years old, and you're holding a buck with your dad, and then you got the Papa Dave gear buck, on that shirt and whatnot, and he's holding it in the picture. That was probably, when it comes down to taking actual good pictures of deer, that's on my top 10 of like, that's a freaking picture right there that anybody should try to replicate, because when you're trying to capture everything in a picture, you might be sitting there like, all right, yep, I got it. But dude, you're missing so much if you don't capture the right thing. And that thing right there all day long, and not to try to sound kiss ass, was just a 10 out of 10. The way your dad standing and holding that deer, I mean, it shows how hard of a hunt that came, how hard of a deer that would have been, to continue on hunting. I'm sure he's been hunting for a while. It was an epic picture, man. So, I mean, that was perfect.
Thanks. It's cool. We're fortunate that we had our good buddy there to take some photos and good photos. We have photos that we took, but our buddy Jim took just way better photos of it and different angles. At the time, we hadn't really been, when my dad killed that buck, we hadn't really been around a ton of big deer. I mean, my dad killed some good bucks, but nothing insane like that. So we didn't really know how to take pictures of deer at the time. And now it's like you shoot a deer, it's, you take several hundred photos of it before you find the one that you like the best, because you want to give the deer credit and show respect and make it look good as best as you can. Sometimes it doesn't always work out that way with, if you're on a trip by yourself and you got no one else to do it, especially like a backcountry hunt where you got to quarter out the animal to get it out. But at home, with the whitetail, it's a little different. You can normally get a buddy to help take some pictures the next day before you process it or take it to the processor or whatever you do. So,
right. Yeah. I mean, dude, I've spent probably 30 to 45 minutes before on a doe, just, my stepmom says it best. You got to take 10,000 pictures just to get one good one.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's the same thing with videography too,
definitely.
You got to redo it. I've done videos over and over. Now, I mean, it's getting to the point, and I'm sure you're there too, where we can take a picture or a video and, we can look at it and be like, wow, I did really good on that one. 10 years ago, I would have had to do that 30 times over just to get that result or even halfway near it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it doesn't hurt to like take the extra time and get what you want. And because, a lot of those moments don't happen very often. So when it does, you want to make sure you capture it as best as you can. So
the way I look at it, man, is, you spend, let's just give it 1 year. You spent a year chasing, this particular deer. You're not going to take the 15, 20 minutes, to get a real good picture, man. You got to get it right.
For sure. Yeah. And that too is like once you've eaten all the meat, and if you didn't mount it, or if you do, it's like, that's the memory of the hunt. And I think of it a little differently. I mean, maybe there's probably a lot of people that think of it the same way, but like I would have killed to have some photos of like deer maybe my grandfather might have shot in the day or whatever, like some good quality photos. So I think of that for like, if I ever have grandkids and they're into hunting, that adds to like the cool family history factor. If there's good photos from the hunting days, or even in camp, it doesn't even have to be of a deer. but just
Yes.
in camp and just some of the trips you had, like group photos on. So we try to do this in our bear camp every year, is get a good group photo of everybody in camp that week.
Right.
So it's just one of those things you look back and like, oh yeah, remember that we so-and-so killed a bear and that guy was there and whatever. It just adds to those like fun memories of looking back on not necessarily like what the kill was, but like the camaraderie of camp in general.
Right. Absolutely. I can hear your little feet on the stairs. I think my little one's getting ready to come around the corner here. Yep, she is. She's laughing. But so let's go ahead and now that we've reflected on your season and a few other things, man, which are freaking amazing, let's give those that don't know where Working Class started and why you did it. Because for those that don't know, I've known Curt a lot longer before Working Class, you know, when he was dabbling in the industry, man. And believe it or not, man, Curt's the same dude as he was on day one that I met till today, as you guys see. You know, he's one of those true dudes that, you know, there's a lot of people out there that once they get up and going, or they're really going, and, you know, that own ego changes their mindset, or that changes them. No, Curt's been the same. I'm going to say, I don't give a shit. Curt's been the same motherfucking dude since I met him on day one. And it's someone that, you know, I could really idolize in the industry, because, you know, that's someone that you want to talk to. That's someone that you want to continue hanging out with, because they're doing things right. And, you know, so Curt, the floor is yours. Why don't you tell us where Working Class started and why and where you're going?
Yeah. Well, thanks for saying that. I've been a douchebag since the day you met me, and I'm still a douchebag. So it's going well. I try not to stray far from being too big of a douchebag, but I am one regardless. No, like Working Class. So I don't know. It's hard to explain. I've always been into podcasts, and in the day listening to podcasts when not a lot of people knew what podcasts were at the time. I'm talking like 2012, 13, 14 time frame, maybe even a little before. Like there was just not a ton of them. I don't know why. There was a couple hunting podcasts that I like sort of dabbled in, but when I looked up more hunting podcasts, there wasn't really one that I felt related to how me and my friends talk, or how I'm used to hearing guys on job sites talk, or how guys really talk in hunting camp, rather than like the traditional outdoor channel TV show, but just an audio format where everyone's like so robotic, to where it's just like, I don't know if that makes sense, like robotic. It's just kind of like so rigid and uncomfortable that you don't, why would you want to listen to an audio format version of that? You know, there is some good ones out there like that. And maybe there was one at the time. I didn't find it. I didn't come across it. So I was like, man, that would be kind of cool to start one. And so basically, long story short, started one. Was fortunate enough to run into a great crew to do it with me. And the crew is kind of, it's the core of it's kind of been the same, but it's evolved over time for the better. So we have a crew of 5 total. But what's great about it is we're not all 5 of us are on the show all the time. So myself, Eric Hammond, Doug Schmidt, Ross Bigger, Austin Chandler makes up the entire main hosts or main team for Working Class Bowhunter. Sure. So it's cool because everyone's like, we're all so different as individuals. Like we could all be our own person, but we all get together and use like the different, just the different chemistry between all of us to make what Working Class Bowhunter is. And we're comfortable with each other, and we say what we want to say. We talk about what we want to talk about. Right. So fortunately it's worked. At least from our perspective, it's worked. And we're pushing to 500 episodes, and in March it'll be 7 full years of podcasting. Dude,
that's insane. Did you, like, whenever you decided to start this venture, did you even have that, like, you know, you're in your own studio now. I'm in my house. So did you ever think that was going to be real? Did you ever think that was going to happen?
No, definitely not. I mean, I always looked up to like guys in the industry, like my role models. I had hunting shows or like some sort of personality or whatever it was that made them who they were, where they had like a job in the outdoor space. So yeah, I mean, that was always in my mind how that would be amazing to do one day, right? You know, it's like I did not think about that, especially looking up to the Juries and Michael Waddell and the Primos boys, and you know what I mean, all the big, you know, I guess the iconic people that we grew up watching, growing up hunting on mainstream hunting channels, Outdoor Channel, Sportsman's Channel, whatever. VHS, the DVD, stuff like that. So it was just like, oh man, that would be cool. But you know, I didn't really even think about that until because it takes you a while to find your groove, you know, like the first 20 episodes. And I don't know, I still feel this way sometimes. It's kind of like Who Wants to Hear Us Talk? Like it's kind of embarrassing if you think about it, like looking at what you're doing. Right. It's like, why are we doing this? But it was fun. So we kept doing it. We had a good time doing it. And then the people listened. Right. Great. That's a bonus. But I don't know. I wouldn't say till we got into like 30 to 50 or more. Maybe even it was way later than that. I don't really know. It never even crossed my mind that maybe it could be something we could do to allow us to hunt more in life, if that makes sense, or maybe to do it for a living. It's hard to see that reality until you grind for several years and maybe see the potential for it.
I can agree completely. You know, and you guys are absolutely on the right path, man. You're doing it right.
Thanks.
So, I mean, you guys are with you're with DeerCast now. That's freaking amazing. That was a huge bonus, man, and jump up right there. You know.
Yeah. It was cool, man. We do a special series for Drury Outdoors DeerCast. It's an exclusive series of video podcasts for DeerCast and the Drury Outdoors YouTube, and then the audio launches on our regular podcast feed. So, right. You know, it could be found through the Drury platform, or if you don't watch video podcasts, you don't care to like watch video format, you know, you just listen like any other podcast. So
right, throw it on the Bluetooth in the car while you're running.
Exactly, or if you're at work and you can't watch videos. The idea on that series, I was going to make them shorter length, like lunch break length. Mm-hmm. But when you get to talking to people about hunting, they always end up an hour. Yeah, some people have hour lunch breaks, but
right.
I tried to shoot for that half hour, 45-minute mark, and it's just difficult.
It is. It really is. You know, and that's kind of where, you know, like I always had like the envision whenever it came down to like this Talking Times, and we started it back in the day with, you know, Garrett from Last Breath and whatnot. I was like, you know, let's shoot for 30 minutes, 45 minutes. You know, I feel like we can keep someone's attention for that. It didn't work out. So anytime, like whenever I got a hold of you, you know, like, hey, you want to come around? You know, anytime it's like, you know, we're going to be here for an hour, maybe hour and a half, you know, who knows?
Yeah, and we're used to that too. And one thing we pride ourselves on with Working Class is like, we started as a podcast and we're still a podcast. Like podcasting is our primary. That's what we love to do. We love to talk about hunting. We weren't a hunting show that was like, because nowadays podcasts are going through the same thing that hunting shows went through, I don't know, 10 years ago or whatever it was. Like we started as a hunting podcast and we have maintained our focus on being a hunting podcast. And yeah, video podcasts are new with the popularity of like Joe Rogan on streaming on YouTube and Spotify and stuff like that. Right. Some people prefer to watch their podcast that way. And what I find is a lot of people just will play the video podcast and it's just playing. And if they happen to look up at it, they'll watch it, but they might be doing something else and listening to it while it's playing. But there's so many podcasts now that the industry is kind of flooded. Everybody wants a podcast, no matter hunting industry or whatever industry it is. But there's a lot of like bow companies that are like, well, everybody else has a podcast. We need to just put out a half-assed podcast to have a podcast. And a lot of hunting shows do that. Well, we have a hunting show. Well, we need to just crank out a podcast just to have a podcast. Yeah. And so that we're proud that we've always been a podcast. We primarily always will be a podcast. We have ideas that we're going to branch out, but you'll never see us try to be like, we're Drury Outdoors. We're not gonna do that. That's not our lane. So we're staying in our lane.
That's good for you, man. Because I mean, you know, and to any of those that are like thinking about doing anything that, you know, like Curt and I do, staying in your lane is extremely important. You know, I never am ever jealous or envy anyone else's success, man. I truly sit back with a smile and like a happy heart. But had I done that in the beginning, man, I think honestly I probably would have been a lot better. And now, you know, through talking with you and a few others and whatnot, I, you know, found my lane, sticking in it, and I wish I would have done it from the beginning. But man, good for you, because it's so hard to stay in that lane and remember, like, hey, listen, this is what we're doing. And then you got someone in your back tripping, like, no, man, this would be a good idea. But you know, sticking in that and just sticking out for the long run, your results in the long run are going to be 10 times, 100 times better.
I mean, it doesn't mean you can't do other things, right? Like you can for sure, but I don't know. I guess if you try, like if you're primarily a hunting show and then you're trying to do a podcast, you could definitely do it. Like I'm not saying you can't, like you for sure can. Like you can do whatever you want. That's the fun thing about it. But it's the way I look at it is like podcasting is our primary. That's where we put our energy and our time and where we like to have our fun. And I just don't feel like it would have been the same over however many years, over the 500 episodes that we've done, if we would have took that effort and spread it thin and tried to do like a YouTube show or, I mean, whatever it is, you know what I mean? So it'd be hard to channel the energy into it if you just took the energy and branched it out over 5 things, or, you know what I mean? So,
especially for, a small team, and I'm not saying that your team is small, but like if you have like 1 or 2, maybe 3 guys and you're doing everything, dude, the time that is required to produce something good, like anybody can put a cell phone video together, and hell, that's what I used to do in the very beginning. But like anybody can put a small cell phone video together where the video doesn't match up, or you're off center, or your head's off. We're not sure, that's fine. But if you really want to do this, man, you got to put in some serious time. And if you're trying to go into everything, you're just gonna fail. Or which sucks.
It's just a different type of grind. I'm not saying you can't, but right. I don't know. Maybe my perspective skewed a little bit, but we're just proud that we started as a podcast. We're still chipping away at our craft and trying to get better. Excellent. The important thing is we have fun,
dude, and that's what you have to remember. As a viewer watching Working Class or anybody, they're doing this for fun. Mm-hmm. I much rather watch somebody that's doing it for fun as opposed to for a job, because now, you're almost like forcing a certain script. Whenever you're doing it for fun, man, it's all raw. And anybody can ask Curt. Curt, you can vouch for me. I didn't send you a single script or anything that we're going to talk about. I just said we're going to talk deer hunting. That's
that too, but I do disagree with you a little bit on that, because if like Michael Waddell is one of the most fun guys to watch in the industry. He does it for a living. That's his job. But the dude still has fun,
Absolutely. So. And I think after hearing you say that, I should probably change that. So meaning like when you're, like, oh, dude, if I don't drop an episode now, I'm done for. So I need to go force something. Well, yeah. If you're forcing something, now you're just going to recreate something that somebody else already did. I'm not saying that you can't try to make it better, but you just got to make sure that you're having fun all the way around doing it. Otherwise, you're going to have trouble.
You just have to be authentic, really. That's what it boils down to.
Absolutely. Absolutely agree. When it comes down to, you guys are just mainly doing your podcast, that's your one goal or your one drive. When you guys are doing like, you videoed that mountain kitty for a little bit, man. Mm-hmm. That's almost like extremely suspenseful. Like, man, these guys got something. They got the video coverage of it. Let's watch it, dude. It's going to be awesome. So it's really cool.
That's just bonus stuff for us. You know what I mean? Like, like when we do our hunt videos, I'm not like, check out our amazing outdoor channel production. It's like, here it is, how it happened. If you don't like it, don't watch it. That's fine. But it's kind of more for our personal reasons to look back on. And if somebody else wants to watch them, that's cool. But if not, man, whatever. That's cool too. We videoed it. We're going to do something with it. So.
Right. I mean, you guys have your own YouTube channel and whatnot, and I'm sure that you're able to put that everywhere else on whatever else that you guys have going on other platforms that can share video.
Yeah.
You have quadruple the amount of podcasts when it comes down to videos, so you're legit.
Yeah. The YouTube thing is like, we never really promoted our YouTube. We don't. Sure. It's another place to put our stuff. Right. I don't know if YouTube is worth the energy, especially like YouTube works for some people and it doesn't for others. Yeah. So it's like, we have videos on there, but I'm not going to be like, subscribe, you got to do this on YouTube, because by the time we get it built up, they're going to kick hunters off YouTube anyway. Yeah.
And they're working on it daily, every day. They like to try to say that they're not, but they are.
That's why I'm thankful we're in DeerCast. I mean, DeerCast, I don't know, it sounds maybe a little corny. It's kind of a safe space for hunters because it's a platform owned by hunters, ran by hunters. You're not going to have people trying to shut us down or demonetize you inside that platform. It's a platform. Not only is it a tool for weather and deer movement and DeerCast track and all the other cool features it has, it's kind of in its own way a social platform for hunters. So, that's, I don't know. I always try to push people to that for that reason, because you can't post a hunting clip on TikTok. Instagram allows it for now. Facebook not always allows it. Most times they do, but you're starting to see different things get pulled. So
Right.
I don't know. There's got to be a better way and a better spot to start channeling outdoor content, because the guys that make their living from YouTube hunting videos, they're good. They got a big following. They could do their own thing. But
Right.
man, if that rug gets yanked out from underneath all of us tomorrow, there's a lot of guys who do it for their job and, feed themselves and their kids and their families from monetizing videos on YouTube. And if that goes away, that's scary for them guys, and it's not good. So
Absolutely. And that, when we had that big old YouTube scare not too long ago, where they were just going to shut down, we seen it with Flair, and we seen it, Lake Fork guy, just to name a couple. They were rumoring that they were talking about taking it completely. I mean, I thought that was really going to happen just last year. Or, I don't even know if it was last year. Might have been just a few months ago, but it was not looking good for anybody that is trying to produce this kind of style of content.
Yep. Well, that's also too where like the importance of like a Waypoint TV and a Carbon TV and My Outdoor TV and the Focus Hunting networks and stuff like that. That's where a lot of those really are very, very, very important. And there's a lot of guys who are like, I don't give a shit about anything, hunting this, hunting that. But I do. I grew up watching hunting videos, man. I enjoy them. Not everybody does, but I got a hunting video collection out here in the studio. I'll put it up against anybody else that's watching or listening to this. I'm confident. I don't know. I had some guys in here last weekend and they were like, how many do you think you got? I'm like, maybe 1,000.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm a fan of them. I'm a fan of hunting content. I love the DVDs. I love the physical copies of the DVDs, of the VHS. I think that's cool. Yeah. So I've been a fan of outdoor content for a long time, and I don't want to see it go away, because not only does it keep people educated on what's going on in hunting, it can give a lot of kids a lot to look up to or watch, and to see what an ethical shot is versus a bad shot, and how to act and how not to act, and whatever. So
there's a top 10 list of why we should do it, and what you named probably the main primary two as to why we should keep doing this, and getting those involved and just completely showing them the right way of doing things.
For sure.
This is how we do it. Give it the ethical, 110%. Go have fun and enjoy what you're bringing home, because you can't find that on the Walmart counter.
No, not usually. Anyway.
No. So when it comes down to, so we've reflected on that now. I kind of want to step back a little bit. When you were talking about the deer that you shot in your own food plot that you kind of created, you made it into you said that you shot him in a pinch point 20 yards. When it comes down to your whitetail strategies and whatnot, what is something that you do that you feel that everybody else they would probably make a serious gain about? This food plot, why did you design it that way?
Entry and exit, really, primarily. I wouldn't say that's the one thing that everybody should listen to what I got to say, because it'll change their hunting. I think that's kind of aggressive and, I don't know, a little too self-serving. But I'll tell you what changed the amount of deer I see personally is me being super conscious of entry and exit routes. Especially wind direction playing into an entry and exit route. If you go into a spot and you're expecting all the deer to come from a certain spot, and as you walk to your stand, your wind blows to that spot, you just let everybody know that you're in there. So, stuff that seems obvious to me now that might not have years ago.
Sure.
Or people who haven't even just thought of it that way. Because if you don't know, you don't know. Right. You know what I mean? But once someone says it, you're like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I should have thought of that. But if you're never taught to think that way about an entry and exit route and what your wind's doing on the entry and exit, you just don't know. For me personally, that's what's changed a lot. And like how many deer I see on a SID and mature bucks that I see in October versus catching them on luck in the rut.
Right.
It's not that I'm guaranteed to see a mature buck in October that I'm going to kill, but hunting's all percentages. Like if someone tells you I'm going to go in on this, this, and this, and I'm going to kill that deer, they might say that because it sounds cool, and it does. Right. It's cool to call your shot. That's pretty badass. Yeah. But you're going with percentages there. There's a higher percentage. That guy probably doesn't know, but he thinks there's a high percentage that if I do this entry on this wind and this exit, that sometime in mid-late October, I could get a shot at a mature buck.
Right.
So that's the way I look at it. I don't know if it's a right or wrong way, but it's worked for me so far.
That's 100% important. I can agree with that on there because, you're thinking about the wind while you're in the stand.
Mm-hmm.
How many people are thinking about it while you're on your way in and on your way out? I mean,
yeah,
I'll be honest, when it comes down to on my way out, I'm a little bit sloppy. I'm ready to get back to the quad or get back to the truck. I'm just ready to go and, recoup and try to go get it again, and figure out what I need to do differently. But you're absolutely right. Maybe that's something I should honestly pay more mind to. But,
yeah, I'll give you an example from this past season. There was a deer I was hunting, big mature buck, and I could see him off in the distance with, I don't know, 25 minutes of shooting light left, maybe a half hour, maybe a touch more. That's not the point. My example is I see the deer. There's no chance from where he's at. Yeah, he might be working my way, but by the time he gets to me, I'm going to have no shot because it's going to be dark. Right. Why would I sit in the stand for the remainder of the night for it to get dark and then have a chance of spooking him in the dark on my exit, even though I can't see him and I won't know for 100% that I'm going to spook him, but I know I can see him now and I have daylight to sneak out of here quietly. So right. I did that 4 or 5 times this past season, seeing the buck I wanted to kill, realized he's not going to quite make it to where I'm at while I still had daylight. I got down, slipped out while I could. And then when I got back to the truck, I was like, okay, now I know for a fact I didn't spook him. So I'm still in the chips for the next hunt I go in. So that's something I've did this year for the first time. And it's the first time I've really been in that situation to see the deer I was hunting and then had a clear, like, okay, I'm making the call now to get down and get the hell out of here so I don't risk bumping them. And that's just me being extra cautious. Not always the right move, but it gave me the confidence of knowing I didn't booger him by accident in the dark.
Well, I mean, how many times did you see that deer?
I saw him a lot, but in that instance, I did that 3 times.
Sure. So maybe had you not, you probably would have only seen him that time.
Maybe.
It's very possible, like you said, you could have bumped him or he could have, could have been right on you and you don't know it. He's slipping in the dark. I had one slip in. I was hunting him hard, man. I had 4 years of this guy on picture and whatnot. I just could never align the moons correctly. But, it was like the last 10 minutes and I went in, I made a move. I knew where he was coming from. I knew where he was going. And I had the best access possible for this property. And I went in, I made a brand new mock scrape right there. And I was contemplating that the entire time that I was on my way there. I was like, do I want to mess with the area? He's coming in. Do I really want to do this? But my trail cam photo literally showed he was in the area and gone in less than a minute. So my way of thinking was if I can make a mock scrape that he'll hit, which he's hit before in earlier years, with the same deer and everything, can I make this deer stop here long enough for me to get a shot? And it worked. He legit came to that spot. It was on his travel pattern, but he came from the other way, not from the way that he needed to. And dude, this tree is probably 60 some inches wide. And the way I positioned the scrape on the branch and whatnot, his entire body cavity was hidden behind that tree for the last 10 minutes of daylight. And he came right underneath my stand and I could literally see his silhouette. And so I turned down the brightness on my phone as he kind of like walked away a little bit. I could still kind of hear him off in the distance. And I texted the wife. I'm like, hey, I'm going to be late, like a lot. And she thought I got him. I was like, I'll give you a call and tell you what's going on. Because she always gets worried, man. If it's dark 30 and I haven't given her a phone call yet, she's blowing me up. I'm sure I got down fine. She's a good woman. But I'm sitting here and like 15, 20 minutes go by. I'm like, all right, I haven't heard anything. Give it a couple more minutes. I start putting a couple things in my backpack quietly. And now it's been 30 minutes. I'm like, all right, it's time to go. I lost my chance tonight, but whatever. I got 3-4 more days. I clicked on my headlamp just so I could get my camera arm done. And he's still standing there 10 yards away and looks right at me. And he blows at me like, and I don't know why, but I was like, all right, you want to talk shit? I'll do it too. So I blew back at him. And he kind of like curved his head a little bit, stomped at me, and then ran back to the tree. I turned my lamp off. I'm like, oh shit. I done did it now. So I waited another 10 minutes and I physically heard him run off that time. But after that, I've never seen the deer again. And Unfortunately, the neighbor shot him. He got him that year. I was so pissed.
Terrible story.
Dude. And he's got both the target bucks that I was after on his wall.
Yeah.
Both of them I got to see for about 10 minutes each. Or no, I'm sorry. The one I seen for 10 minutes each, he was a wide 8. The other one was a tall 10, and I seen him for a second. And that's when I learned don't shoot squirrels during the rut. Dude, this squirrel man was making some monster noise, and I'm like, there ain't a single deer in the world, not even a fawn's gonna come investigate this thing. So I hand my buddy my field tip arrow. I range this squirrel, and I said, when he comes back down this tree, which he's going to, he's done it all day. I'm gonna shoot the bastard. Give me the arrow back. And he goes, all right, bet. I don't know why I couldn't leave it in my quiver. I guess it was just cool for this guy to hold it. And so, sure enough, the squirrel comes back down. I grab a hold of the arrow. I give it back. And I do this bellow grunt. Like, I call it a bellow grunt. It's probably not the correct term, but you kind of grunt like 3 times and then just do a nice long one and then it kind of end it. You know, it's a breeding grunt, I guess. And I no more than turn around and face my tree and I hear him. He goes, big buck, big buck, big buck, big buck. And I just hear this like just coming down. And I look down. I'm like, oh, shit, that's him. Well, he hands me my arrow because he needs to operate the camera. I can't be a dick and not take the arrow back. Yeah. So I took the arrow. And I got it in my hand, and this deer is literally 3 yards underneath me. He's 150-inch 10. And I go to put the arrow down on the seat of my stand, and it goes to roll off. So I stop it. I literally put my hand on it, and I'm shooting FMJ, so, you know, they're aluminum. And I decide I'm going to put it in between. I know this sounds like a lot, but it's happening really fast. I go to put it in between the tree and my actual seat, and it slips out of my glove and makes a tinka-tinka noise and falls all the way down the ground. And then the next thing I hear is, don't fucking move. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I'm going to lose this deer. And then the next thing I heard was him blowing, and then all I seen was his ass in the sunset. It sucked so bad. And then the following year, the neighbor shot him. And I was like, that was karma in the worst way.
Yeah. I don't mess, dude. Not only are arrows expensive to be shooting at squirrels, I am like, I don't even shoot at turkeys anymore. Like, it's not worth like ruining a deer hunt. It's fun, right? It's fun to do that stuff. But man, I can't. I would kick my own ass to the end of days if like I was trying to shoot a squirrel and messed up on a good buck. I mean, it happens, right? You spend a lot of time in the tree, whatever, you get kind of impatient, but I get it. It's a funny story. But man, I don't know why I was impatient at 8 o'clock in the morning during the rut, but I was. And I think honestly, for those that are wondering, that build up before is what it is.
I did kill that squirrel, and I enjoyed every minute of it. Like, it was the most like lethal feeling, like villain kind of style like thing. I did kill that squirrel. like I, you know, there was a good part of me that just thought like it's your fault.
Yeah, right.
I had to blame it on the squirrel for a long time, and then I cry about that deer every day. Oh my gosh, it was terrible. I'll never shoot a squirrel ever again.
Shoulder mounted on the neighbor's wall.
I should too. I will never ever draw back on a squirrel ever again during deer season. Ever.
I won't do it, man. Even if they're barking, I'll throw a stick at them, but I will not. I will not draw back and waste an arrow. I just can't, man. Broadheads are expensive. Arrows are expensive. You know,
speaking of that, like, hunting is not cheap anymore.
No.
Like, dude, I mean, how much money do you have just in your quiver? At least $40. Okay. So,
yeah.
And now let's count per stick. So you got 6 of those. Okay. Your broadhead's $10 a piece. Your arrows are anywhere from $10 to $15 a piece. Your vanes, your lighted knock. You're not cool if you don't have the cool wrap, which I have. And mine are reflective, by the way. I don't know if you've ever thought about those, but those are lifesavers when those lighted knocks fail.
Yeah, for sure.
But you've got, you know, an easy hundo sitting there.
Oh yeah.
Shoot a freaking rodent. I don't know what I was thinking.
Oh, definitely, dude. In our crew, we shoot slick tricks. We burn through them. Like, it's, you know what I mean. I gotta keep a sharp broadhead all the time. You just never know. So I just I don't know. It's fun doing that, but it's got to be what I'm hunting to sling an arrow. It's like I've killed a few like turkeys out of a tree stand, but not anymore. Like, I'm good. You know what I mean? Losing arrows. I mean, if you kill them, you want an arrow to stick in a turkey. It just seems like it's a little more lethal. But
Right.
I'm just I'm over that. I'm over losing arrows and screwing around. So I'm pretty stone cold nowadays when it comes to doing that. When I was younger, I messed around a little bit, but
Right.
now I'm just like, nope. I'm
Nope.
sitting, even though I got a squirrel barking at me, I'm like, just bark away. I'll sit
That's
here
not
longer than
cheap.
you can.
Yep. That's not cheap. I usually listen for barking squirrels. Like if they're not barking at me, I've had it where, you know, the squirrels start barking and then I kind of like, I'll give that back stretch, you know, just kind of like, all right, you know, something's coming. Because 8 times out of 10, you know, you might not even see what's coming or what it's barking at. It might even just be barking at another squirrel. But I've had a lot of times where squirrel starts barking and it's not barking at me, and I look down and there's a deer over there by it.
Yep.
You know.
Yep.
So,
deer, coyote, bobcat, anything like that.
absolutely. I've absolutely loved it. So
Sure.
that about wraps up our hour there. I think I nailed that one pretty good. That's right.
Right on the money, huh?
That's right, man. You know, Kurt's a busy guy. You know, I would love to. We can just sit here and chat all night. Absolutely. If any of our viewers out there, you know, oh wow, there's only 4 watching at this time. Any of the 4 viewers that have anything that they would like to say to Kurt before we cut him loose, you know, have at it. The stage is yours for the next minute. We've absolutely enjoyed having every one of you guys here. Thanks for watching. This is kicking off Talking Tines again. Something that we like to do in the off season. You know, shoot the shit, talk the crap, and laugh and reminisce like what we're doing here. You know, just a straight up no bullshit thing. Just go for it. And so we're happy to get back up and going. We have a lot more coming down the pipeline for you guys. So stay tuned and stick around. Kurt, absolutely loved having you on the show, man. And I hope it was a blast for you, buddy.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So for that, guys, thanks for tuning in and Talking Tines, and we'll see you guys here next time on Outdoors Obsessions.